Hey, welcome folks to another board game news panel, joined by our favorite friends and guests.
Some of them.
Yeah, not all of them tonight, but we do have a showing. So let's start off with Branden and Lexi.
Hi, I'm Lexi.
And I'm Branden.
And we are All Aboard Gamer.
Sorry, it's usually just me.
Yeah, sorry.
That's
We're out of
good.
practice.
How about you, Gare?
Hey everyone, I'm Fetigator, also known as Gary, and I'm just happy to be here again tonight and talk a little board games, and at the end show you my favorite, one of my most favorite games from 2016. So
Such
ready
a
to get the
good
show
year.
going.
Gary with no channel affiliation.
I have no
yet.
channel affiliation. I'm just affiliated with everybody. I'm globally affiliated.
Yeah, there you go.
And we are at Lab Games. I'm Anthony.
And I'm Francis.
And we are here to talk about a couple of interesting topics tonight. So
Yes,
one
we
that Gary
do.
already put out, we're going to be talking about a 2016 game that we all find a little bit special.
Mhm.
But the main sort of newsy topic we want to talk about today is content creators versus influencers.
Yes, and
influencers.
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 Yes, this is
I put the emphasis on the wrong syllable.
yes, yes, wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable. Yeah, this is something that we've been thinking about for a long time now, and I feel like it's something that we talk about a lot, like amongst ourselves as content creators / influencers. It came up the other day because we were in the middle of talking with the publisher, and the publisher had mentioned something about like, oh, and all the influencers, should be getting their games, and it was like you kind of like take a step back and you're like, well, I don't really consider myself to be an influencer. Like that's never been like our goal, is for people to like see us with something and then want it just because we have it, if that makes sense. So it's kind of reignited our conversation about, what is a content creator, what is an influencer, and how do these two exist and sometimes coexist in our space of board gaming, because we're kind of in a unique spot. I think we're not, trying to sell yoga pants or something.
Yeah,
we actually have to show people how to use these things. So
let's ask around the table here. So Branden, Lexi, do you guys consider yourselves content creators or influencers?
Or both.
Or both?
Go ahead.
Well, I think content creators is what we consider ourselves, but because we are so small, I think that the following that we have, we kind of attract people that are like-minded. So in that way, I think we might be considered influencers. And like there's different tiers of influencers too. There's like the micro influencers and stuff, and the mid. And so I don't really know. I never really thought about this until you guys started talking about it. But I think we're kind of both, but we would prefer content creation, right?
Right.
Like we're delivering something.
Yeah. I think the difference as I see it, and she has a whole thing here that I can't see without my glasses on. But the thing, if I'm just talking off the top of my head, without having to be able to do much prep, I look at content creation as education. I'm offering education. Where an influencer, from what I understand, influencers may even get a part of the sales of the product that they're pushing. We don't do that. We're not getting a percentage of anything that we are promoting. So what I would say is, if someone buys something from our recommendation, it's just simply a byproduct of the education that we are creating. I look at content creation as very little more than education, but also entertainment. So the two E's, education and entertainment, where influencers are more the flashy, catchy, kind of like FOMO, like they have to live with FOMO. FOMO's part of our content creation. FOMO's part of our industry, but it's not the driving force. I think when you're an influencer, you are promoting just the sales. It's more about money, if I could say it that way, maybe. It might be too black and white. It might be too black and white the way I'm looking at it, but I look at the fundamental difference is education. Influencers don't educate typically. They're just trying to sell. For the most part,
for the most part.
That's well put. I think you're on there. What about you, Gary? What do you think? What
Well,
would
I
you
don't
consider
create
yourself?
content.
Well, I mean,
so I'm an
been, right?
influencer, right? No,
Yeah.
I kind of agreed there with Branden. I always kind of see as an influencer, someone who just has some name recognition. Sometimes don't even really have anything really to do with the actual product, but you know what? I'll put my name to it because usually they're getting paid for it, or they're getting there's some sort of a kickback with it. That's why they're going to put their name to it. I don't know how many of those we have in the actual board game industry. Now, I think there are obviously a couple just a handful board game content creators. I think we would also say those are significant influencers. I mean, they can push a game like no others, and it's pretty easy to come up with, those 2-3 names that are out there that can do that.
Yeah.
But I prefer content creation, just if it was me personally, because I like the education part, because I love the industry so much. I love playing board games. I want to teach people more about them. So, and if people, I've had people back in the past, like when I was with Man vs. Meeple, you go to conventions and stuff, and there's, people like, oh, you talked about a game, and I went out and bought it, and it's like, it was great, because no one else was talking about that. Now, is that me really doing a ton of influencing? Oh, maybe, but I can see where that line can cross a little bit. But I think it's just in this industry, I think most people are content creators. I think there are a couple of influencers, but I think we're starting to see some. Well, the last topic we talked about, where Asmodee is talking about, didn't they use the word influencers in their, like, what they're driving for with their, like, the trading card games and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So you might start seeing bigger names. They might go after those bigger names to push whatever game they're wanting to push. Now that to me is like the influencer part of it.
Right.
Yeah. I think you're right as well. So
Well, sorry.
Yeah.
No, if I could just interject too.
Sure.
Have you ever known an influencer to actually be negative about a product in order to not push it? See, the difference is where these same 2 or 3 names in the board game space can certainly push a game to great sales. They can simultaneously have the opposite effect if they don't like a game.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think there's a difference in creation of content for education, because there's always the potential for the negative result where you're actually shy. People are going to move away from the product because of your opinion. Influencers don't do that. I've never seen an influencer get on an Instagram reel and show off some clothing and then say, this stinks, I don't like it, let's not, you know what I'm saying?
Unless they were paid by the other company, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you should get this from another
double
company.
agent.
I think there's that also, just that the positive reinforcement constantly of influencer versus the potential for negative consequences in the content creation space. So.
And that's all really good points. I think it's why we kind of like broach this topic, because it's really, I think the board gaming community space and the content creation space there is very complex in the way of the products we're trying to promote. Because they're not like a shirt where you can just put on a shirt and say, here's my shirt. Whereas you have content creation, or you can see influencers who will hold up a box, but by them holding up a game box, nobody looking at that picture is going to understand what that product is outside of a box cover, right? So is there any depth to that? No.
Well, I want to interject here because because this is like my near and dear to my heart topic. And it's funny because I've been originally, like I said, when people are like, oh, influencers, I'm like, no, we're not, like, I'm not an influencer. But then I started looking more into like buying habits and what causes us to make purchasing decisions and things like that. And I'm reading a really interesting book right now by Jonah Berger. He's a social psychologist, I think, University of Pennsylvania, Wharton School of Business. But in any case, it's called Invisible Influence. Really good. I highly recommend checking it out if you want an idea of like what motivates people's buying decisions based on research, not just based on somebody's thoughts. But what I realized was there, I think, actually is a lot of value in both content creation and influencer marketing. Obviously, because it's being done everywhere. And one of the most important things that influencers do, so we're talking about somebody kind of holding a box and it goes out to all, 50,000 of their Instagram followers or something like that, is just flat out recognition. So you kind of have this like iceberg of things that are happening to you personally when you are being marketed something, you're being sold something in any sphere. And you've got a bunch of stuff that happens kind of at the tip of the iceberg, which is your kind of psyche going, okay, I'm going to research this game. I'm going to make a decision for myself. And then what you don't see is all this like persuasion and stuff that's kind of under the surface. One of those things being your exposure to an item. So if you have somebody posing with a picture of a box, that you may not think anything of it. You might not think it's important,
Mhm.
but in retrospect, if you're actually looking at like research, you're looking at like who's buying what, how many times did you actually see it? They're priming you to like that thing, even though you may not like it. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Or whatever. So that recognition is extremely important.
It's important. It
And
doesn't necessarily close the deal, but
it doesn't close the deal at all. I don't
but
think.
it
And I
gets
think
you,
that's
it plants the seed.
right.
And
right.
then you are going to go seek out the content creator, right? So
Exactly.
content creators
Yes.
create original content for sharing knowledge or building a brand, while influencers post sponsored content for money and popularity, which is exactly what you said, Branden.
Yeah.
You're like, they're doing it for the money.
Oh yeah.
That's right on. That's right on the money. Like that's what. So that's why you don't see negative press from an influencer, because you're like, I love this because I'm getting paid to show it to you.
Well, and the other thing I think that in the influencer sphere that they have to, and because I think there is some overlap here that we have to kind of manage, is you get a lot of people that are very concerned about their following.
Yeah.
So they're worried about their loyal fan base, because I think the kind of the benchmark that I've kind of come to is if you do not have value, if your content doesn't have value without your following, you are most likely an influencer. If your content has value without a following, then you are most likely a content creator, right? Because you could have 0 following and still put together a really great how to play video that could be commissioned by a publisher, right? You could also take really great photos of the stuff, give them over to the publisher. You're not showing off all that stuff. And I think that's where, you know, in our industry, we kind of blend, because in lots of industries, you have photographers, you have digital creators, you have all these people that push their stuff to the company. The company gives those things to the influencers, and the influencers put those things out on their social platforms. In our sphere, we're like doing everything, and publishers are kind of like expecting content creators / influencers to do it all. And I think that's where a lot of the pressure comes from.
Yeah. So this is a call to action for those of you viewing this video right now. Down in the comments below, put a couple of content creators and what you think they are, influencers or content creators. I by default called them content creators, which I'm not. So YouTube board game people, reviewers, whatever you want to call them, hype men.
I make videos on YouTube.
Are they? And what do you think? Do you think they're, you know, those that you watch? Do you think they're influencers, or do you think they're content creators, or do you think they're a blend of both? Because I could name a bunch off the top of my head where I could tell you, yeah, this person's an influencer because they only care about their audience, their clicks, and how much they're getting paid to put out the next video. That's the extent of it. And you know that's what the driving force is, because the quality of their content maybe the picture quality is good, but the depth of what they're telling you is very shallow. And you can tell they're not playing these games more than one time to get the content out, because they don't have time. Because they've got a queue of games to get out and influence you to go back to that Kickstarter.
Right.
Very easy to see through that.
Right. And I think Lexi and I could vouch for that. You know, we try to meet deadlines when we're given them. Of course, we want to be professionals. But when it comes to pumping out a bunch of reviews, we just don't do it. I'm not saying you can't pump out a lot of videos. If you play a lot of games, for example, Luke from the Broken Meeple, I think he pumps out a ton because he plays a lot of games. He's you know, he's single. He and I have done content together. But Lexi and I, we can't always do it. You know, life gets in the way. And so when we put something out, it's because we've taken the time and the energy to just say, we love this, whether people really, now we want people to like it. You know, we want people, but whether you listen to us or not, it doesn't matter. It's a good somebody's going to like it. Somebody's going to say, oh, well, that was educational. That was cool. Yeah, definitely. We lean to that side of things.
Yeah, I think influencers are definitely more shallow, and it's more about, like you said, the clicks, the drive, the just oversaturation of the pictures, that subliminal messaging.
And there are people that think they're content creators. And I'm thinking of some, I'm not going to mention them, but you can in the comments, like Anthony said, put them in the comments. And back it up, tell us why, tell us why you think one way or the other. But, you can tell because they're so worried about how their video is performing, not the content of the video.
Exactly.
It's sad because, I mean, that shouldn't stress you out. If you're doing this because look, here's the other thing too. Influencers are also known as shills. And one of the things that I don't want to ever be called in this space is a shill. Now, I'm not saying all influencers are shills, but it almost seems like the essence is you're going to say something positive about it, even if you don't believe
Always
in it, because
positive,
you're getting paid. That is the definition. The slang term, I guess the derogatory term, is a shill. I've heard it so much in the video game industry with content creators. Or are they influencers? Like you said, Francis, you made a great point. There's so much crossover, and it is hard to maybe toe the line based on things like that. So very interesting.
I think there's going to be more influencers in this space. I mean, in this industry, and that's what I think we're going to be talking about. But I don't know. Should we be threatened by that?
I don't think threatened.
I don't think so.
I think it's that's why this conversation is so interesting to me, because I do think that in the marketing sphere and in the current culture we're in, it's just kind of a fact of how people do marketing now. It's all digital marketing. So advertisers aren't buying commercials for the next great board game or family game night. They're going to the TikTok people, that are going to show you a quick, 30-second video, and you're going to remember, oh, wait, I think I saw that before somewhere when you're in Target, and then maybe you'll go to a content creator to learn more about it. But it's all that subliminal stuff that's going on. And for that, for what it's worth, I don't think that a lot of folks, like ourselves included, if you're influencing somebody's opinion, I don't think that we don't sit here and go, okay, we're going to subliminally show this picture 5 times. And then, but I don't think that that's happening. But that's why I think this is a cool thing to kind of just be aware of, even if you're a content creator, influencer, or whatever, you're making board game content out there, to kind of just be aware of how you're being used in the space and what matters to you. We talk about this a little bit in our mentorship program, actually, about your why. And maybe you want a lot of clicks, whatever, good on you. You want to be popular, cool. But be real about that. Don't sit here and say, well, I just love board games and I just want to make content because I love the game and I love the hobby and I love the people.
And $500 a pop, really, I do every Kickstarter I do.
Right. Really, what you want is on the cheap, free game and lots of likes and clicks. So it's that's okay, but just be real about it, I think that's just kind of the neat thing about what we do.
There will be an increase in influencers in this space. I mean, fortunately or unfortunately, it depends on how you look at it, but these companies are looking to be profitable. We've seen what happens when they're not, and we talked about that last episode.
Right.
So they want purchases. And so they're probably, the smart ones are going to leverage both sides of the coin. They're going to start with the influencers to get people to think about their game, and then they're going to direct them to the content that's out there that actually demonstrates the game and gives opinions on it, right? So
and what I'm hoping that we start to see is send the games out to the influencers who have big followings, niche followings, micro through macro, whatever, the whole gamut. But also pay attention to the content creators that have smaller followings that produce really good content. Yes, because if you have somebody out there who's making really good content, has a great how to play style, or just has very good presence on camera and can explain things thoroughly, they may have 500 subscribers on YouTube, but from a publisher's perspective, you could hire them to do a video, take their video, not care who sees it on their channel, but that's what people are being directed back towards. And I'm hoping that we see more of that in the industry, as opposed to just going to the people who are at the top of the food chain, basically hoping for the best in terms of depth of content, and then, kind of, to the rest of the folks
audience size doesn't always equal quality of content. It just doesn't.
Right.
In some cases it does.
Or purchases.
In some cases it doesn't. Yeah.
Not to mention that how much trust actually wanes from the same videos, the same people that are in the Kickstarter campaigns and the game found. No offense to them. I'm not trying to say that they're not working hard, whatever the case is, but how much do you trust certain opinions when they think everything is awesome? And so, of course, as a publisher, you want that. You want the people that are going to say your game is awesome. I mean, why would you want something else? But there are publishers, though, that respect that honesty, and that it has more value to them. So I guess it just depends too on what the goals of the publisher are. Sometimes our goals aren't aligned, sometimes they are aligned, but it's an interesting phenomenon.
And also just the goals of the actual content creators too. I mean, if you're in it for a business, you're looking for every publisher out there who will give you money to talk about your game. Yeah, I'll shill for you. $1,000. Hey, your game's great. But then you got the other people, I think there's a handful of them out there like, you know what? I just do this because I love board games. I don't care what people think of my opinion. I'm just sharing my opinion. And if you like it, great. If you don't, that's great too. That's what I'm in for. So the more you have, you can see those lines, the better. Because I think you're right. Francis talking earlier just about a lot of content creators are starting to kind of blur in and get into that more influencer role because these other publishers are coming and go, hey, we'll pay you to show our game. So yeah, so it's going to be very interesting. They've made a decision. Hey, it's worth the money. We're going to pocket that in our budgeting, and we're going to go out to these content creators and try to pay them to review our games.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Because there's a business side of it. People want to make a business out of it too, and that's fair.
100%.
I do want to say I think it goes beyond reviews
you.
though too. I mean, I think we're not just talking about like pay for reviews, like that's a whole another thing. But when I talk about the influencer space having value to publishers, I'm just talking about like somebody holding a box with a game and being like, I'm on Instagram. Here's a game. Like I'm not telling you whether I like it or not. I'm just kind of showing you game.
I'll paste the description.
The description's below.
And below from the publisher's website. And we're good. You know what I mean? Like there's that, right? But maybe that's good enough for a publisher. But here's a PSA for those of you out there that are watching and when you're consuming content. If it's a YouTuber that is presenting you a Kickstarter game, there's probably an 85% chance that they got paid to do that. Just letting you know. Most of them do. There's a few that don't.
Ourselves included.
Yeah, we do. Not all of them though.
Yeah.
Some we do. We just kind of keeps the volume down because we don't want to do as many anymore. But a lot of folks, definitely the bigger channels. If it's a bigger channel doing a Kickstarter, they're getting paid. So know that. So if they're telling you how good this game is, know that they're getting paid. It's the reality of it, and really use your judgment when going for that, because at that point they're an influencer, 100%. They are not. They're creating content for you, but to influence you to make that purchase because that's their job. That's what they were hired to do.
Right. And that's why I think we've always, at least like, especially since we've started to charge for some of our Kickstarter content, we've been very careful to not give our opinions on those content. Like, so we're looking at it as we're delivering a service to the publisher, which is, here's a game that's coming out. Yeah,
we take the money for the content creation.
It's the content creation piece, not for the influencing piece.
Opinions.
And that's part of the reason we don't give opinions on Kickstarters. So
people always say, is it good or not? I'm like, I don't know. You saw the video. You tell me.
Right, exactly.
We demoed the game for you.
Part of the reason why we've had this conversation over and over and over internally.
And it's our pet peeve. And we have friends in the creation space, nobody on this call, who we were like, you shouldn't be reviewing that game. It's not fully published yet. It's still on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
It's a prototype, and you're telling people how good it is. Those rules aren't final. Like, it's kind of, and you got paid to do this. So it's like, that sounds wrong on a lot of fronts, honestly. And there's a lot of that goes on for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think this was a good topic.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's good to watch this space, right?
Right. Yeah. Do you need a segue?
No, well, do you have a segue?
I do.
Okay, let's hear it.
So we've been talking a lot about influencers and content creators, but there's another kind of content, a third kind of content that we do see in our space, right? And that is news about our space.
Yes.
Right. So we do have plenty of we would still probably say broadly content creators, right? That aren't really talking about games specifically. Maybe they are, but they're more or less just talking about things happening in the board game space.
Yes.
Right. So there's my segue.
Good segue. So with that said, we there is a Kickstarter campaign going on now for a new tabletop news show.
Yes.
And normally, like it's like, why would you even bother talking about it? Because what it is we're trying to figure out, and I think we kind of already have, where does this fit in as far as content creation, influencer,
marketing.
So I'll pull up the Kickstarter page so we can all enjoy this together and go on this magical journey together. So here it is. So this is the Tabletop News Kickstarter campaign. So start at the top. So we are at 817 backers, $56,000 out of $150,000 goal, 23 days to go. So this thing was up, I think, originally started with a 30-day campaign, like typical. it came out of the gate, and we've got some quick kick track stats that Mr. Gary pointed out and walked us through earlier, that really show us how the funding has gone. Now it came, so like a lot of Kickstarter campaigns, they always come out of the gate strongest, right? That's how they always start strong. I don't think I've ever seen, like, they always start here at the graph, and then it just goes down, and then the longer it goes, the worse it gets. That's why you see a lot of Kickstarters who come out of the gate weak. They know they're not going to fund.
Right.
Like, they already know by day like 10.
We get an email on day 3. Guys, we're pulling the
after
the
we do the
Kickstarter
content
campaign.
and post the video, they're like, we're pulling the campaign. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, but you could tell they're just not going to make it, right? So in this case, there's a question mark, and we'll explain why we think there's a question mark on whether or not this is going to fund. So let's talk a little bit about this campaign. It is a tabletop news show hosted by, if you look at the folks, they are RPG, tabletop RPG people.
Right.
Most of them, mostly. Looking at their backgrounds, right? A lot of D&D stuff, and they all come from that sort of content space. So not, from what I could tell, not really organic board gamers.
Right.
Personalities, if you want to call it, right? Who have experience in this space. So creating this, and it's interesting when you read this, we don't want this to be a big corporatized production that loses its human spark. But to me, it feels very newsflashy.
Does it have a human spark to begin with?
Right. So you want, what you expect in something like that is the connection, right, with these folks. But I immediately don't have a connection because I can tell already that they don't look like they're board gamers, right? At least from their just from looking at the background, they don't look like they don't have a background of, I've been playing board games for 20 years.
I want to come right out of the gate and say that I hadn't been watching this until we started talking about it today.
Yeah.
Well, the last couple of days. And then I watched some of the on Facebook. They've got some videos because I'm like, what is this? Like, show me a sample. Show me what it's about. Are they going to talk about board games or RPGs? Like, what's going on here?
Right.
And they had a video on the Facebook. One of the little clips was like, I think it was Becca on there that was like, I'm reading a teleprompter that tells me what the news is because I don't want to scroll and figure out what all the board game news is.
Talking about how
our
difficult
writers told us what to write, what to say on this teleprompter, and now I'm learning about the news while I'm talking about it to you. And I'm like, what? Like, so you're not even like really connected to what's going on in the industry.
And then one of them's like,
how is that
scroll
organic?
Through Twitter to get all my board gaming news. I'm like, first of all,
who's scrolling through Twitter to get board gaming news?
If you're going to Twitter to get board gaming news,
nobody.
You're definitely not in tune with this community, right?
Yeah.
And with this hobby whatsoever, because that is probably the last place you want to go to get any sort of real news.
Or maybe that's why they think there's no news. Like, this is avoiding.
And on the campaign, it's like, there's no real place to go get it, right? It's like, well, yeah, Dice Tower's been doing this for years, right? Like, so it's really odd to come out of the gate,
very strange,
acting like this doesn't exist, and they're trying to fill a void, right? They're trying to fill the void of Tabletop with Will Wheaton. I get that, right? That was a very popular show. It really put board gaming on the map, like hard on YouTube, until it went away. There have been multiple attempts, and Gary, Man vs. Meeple tried it too, to recreate that, that sort of like show environment during a board game.
Right.
It's never been successful, mainly because these were celebrities.
Right. Gary, what was your experience with that? Because I know you might have been part of this.
Well, like when we tried to do like some of the tabletop things, I think you've even seen Dice Tower do a little bit of it too. It's hard. It takes a lot of time and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort. Especially if you're going to do, now I didn't do one of these with them, but I know they've done it like the kind of like you're playing and then it's kind of like the Office kind of like, here's what I was doing and stuff. It takes hours to do that. And here's the thing, not only does it take a lot of time, I mean, time is money. And like Will Wheaton, I mean, he ended up having big backing. I mean, there's a lot, there was money behind that to make it a whole lot easier. And, I know Dice Tower is the biggest in our industry on the YouTube side, aside from, Shut Up and Sit Down. Right. But, but they got the funds, they got the personnel to be able to pull out. But I've even heard Tom talk about how takes time. Those things,
It
you just don't
does.
pump them out.
It does.
I think they used to like, we'll maybe do a couple a year because it takes so much
It's-
time.
Yeah, you don't have like you need an editing crew, you need a camera crew, you need a director, you need staff,
And
right?
then
You need personalities,
1,000
too.
people watch it, and
Yeah.
you're like, that's it. Like,
Yeah, like this is what I'm watching. Like, and
Right.
I think the biggest draw with Tabletop again is the celebrity, right?
celebrity.
These were like
Yeah.
actual
Mhm.
television and movie star celebrities. These weren't
Right.
like
Yes.
B-list people. These were like real deal. And to watch them playing a hobby that we all love was really cool, right?
Yeah.
So then when another channel tries to do that, it falls flat because the appeal's not there, right? And it's a lot of work. So the payoff it just isn't there. So like they're trying to replace that. So number one, they're not celebrities, right? Like I don't know who any of these people are outside of Becca Scott.
She's really the only one I've ever heard of.
Right.
But
And if
Yeah.
because I'm not in the, tabletop
we're not in that
RPGs.
space,
Yeah,
exactly.
I didn't watch Critical Role and Geek
Yeah.
and Sundry and
Exactly.
those
So
channels.
what I was saying earlier is like none of them are from a board gaming space. Like it's all Roll 20, Dimension 20,
Right.
Critical Role, Paizo. These are all tabletop RPG backed, like shows. Like that's
Right.
it. So
Yeah.
that doesn't translate into board games, in my opinion. It just doesn't. It's a
Well,
completely
if you-
different animal.
If I can interject too,
Yeah.
I'm the only one that I recognize is Becca Scott, and
Yep.
like you said, the board game there, it's more of just overviews, maybe a 3-minute how to play. I've seen mainly from her how to play a board game,
Yeah, how to play is
things like that, very basic stuff that we do,
Yep.
or that anybody else can do. Not to disparage, but it's one of those things where when you look at all the Twitter profiles, they're all actors. And
Yep.
most
Mhm.
of them aren't talking about board games at all. If you scroll through their pages, it's
Yep.
video games. They're streaming Witcher. They're streaming
Mhm.
all these different other games. They're not talking about board games, and they're all actors. They're all, and $150,000 to put out a weekly show.
10 weekly
G4
shows.
10 weeks.
10 shows.
It's only 10
Well,
shows.
one show, but split it up into multiple parts.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're
yeah.
right. You're right. Yeah, in small bits. Yeah.
But
Small
yeah.
bits. But here's the other thing. G4 TV had the backing of Comcast, and it failed miserably. It comes off very cheesy, and I think we all here know why G4 TV failed. They made some very, very bad decisions in staffing, period. And that one incident that happened ruined the entire thing, took it completely down.
Yep.
What makes
they
you
were-
think that anything else is going to be different if you come on and do the same thing and
Exactly.
you only have a minuscule fraction of that budget?
Yep. Now, if they came on and said, we are going to try to recreate the G4 TV from 20 years ago, you'd be
Yeah.
successful.
Yeah.
Sure.
But if
They weren't going to do that.
they're not doing
Yeah.
that. No,
They're not
which
doing
is,
that. There's no
Which
way
is
they're
why
doing
the new launch of G4 blew up
Yep.
because they did not keep the old formula. They tried
Mhm.
to they shamed the old formula.
They did.
And they
They
insulted
shamed-
everybody
they shamed
who
their
enjoyed
audience.
the old formula.
Exactly.
You know?
So, which was their entire fan base. So
Yeah.
Right.
So that's where to try to replicate that here, I'm like, that's not going to do it either. So I'm like, I'm
Right.
trying to find the angle that they're going for,
Well,
or
yeah.
what audience are they
Well,
trying to
and so
target?
that, I think that's what we started doing. So we're like, all right, so they're saying that they want to do news, right? Okay, I'm not buying it. Let's look at the pledge levels. What are they? Who are they trying to get money from? Who's supposed to be backing this, right?
Yeah.
So like, let's take a look, because I know that they've got a couple of like lower tier
$10, right?
rewards, right? Which is kind of a back it because you believe in it. I think
Yeah.
that and the 25 is the same.
25, a little bit more.
You've got like a 50, but when you scroll up, the big money, because
Oh,
they
it
want
starts
150,000,
hitting hard
right?
towards the end.
Mhm.
So they start asking for, I think they've got, scroll back, they've got like a 3,000, I
Yeah,
think.
2,500, 3,000.
And then they've got like a 7,000.
There's
I think they have a 10,000.
100, 150.
But those, if I
150,
remember
200.
correctly, are primarily like what? Those are almost like marketing
Yeah, these are like complete.
positions. Like these are,
Yeah, you
not
get to
just
you get
like
to
your-
interact with them and all
Right.
this stuff. So it's like, I just think like the price is just insane. Like, what are you getting out of this?
like what it scroll, because I thought that they had one that's kind of like
segment of
for
sponsorship for one segment
sponsorship.
and one
That's what I'm
episode.
looking for. So that's what I feel. Well,
So they're
I
looking for
kind of got
businesses.
lost
they're looking for
because
business
they're looking for
support.
businesses. And when I see sponsorship, now I'm like, okay, well, is it news, or are you now just going to be talking about the things your sponsors want you to talk about, which is completely contrary to what you
they're
say
saying.
you want to do?
Yep. So
Exactly.
So
this isn't news.
I'm
this
like,
is
no,
advertising.
so this is another media that is controlled by large corporate sponsors.
Yeah.
And you're just gonna blab off a teleprompter or whatever those sponsors want you to talk about.
Yep. All right, we got paid to talk about these 3 games, and we're going to talk about these 3 games.
So
and that's
again, I don't diss like the wanting to do. I think it looks great. Production's fantastic, and I'm all for people doing cool new things.
Yeah.
But don't be disingenuous about it.
Yeah.
Be upfront about like, no, we want to make money. We want to bring you stuff that people are going to pay us to bring you, and we want to do it in a flashy way because we want people to say this looks really cool.
Yeah. I would love
that would be fine.
A
I
really
think, but
good, solid, high production news show for board games.
That would be awesome.
Would be awesome.
That's not what I believe that this is, and I believe that the reason they don't have examples of what the show is going to look like is probably because it's going to, number one, cost them too much to pay these people to put together even a segment,
a promo,
right?
Yeah,
a promo,
like a what do they
and
call it?
Because they probably don't have the sponsorship to actually talk about anything right now.
Not right now,
right? I mean, I would challenge them to put something out. Like at this rate, I'm like,
that was the one thing. I mean,
it's weird. It's so weird.
There's multiple little videos like, you see here or on other social media.
Yeah.
And it's all just kind of joking around. They're kind of on a set. And it's like, can you just show me a 5-minute clip of what your new show would look like? What are you talking about? Are you talking about board games? Or are you talking about, the next big RPG or the next, what's next in the Magic the Gathering? I mean, there's kind of 3 big niches here. There's board games, there's collectible cards, and then there's the RPGs. And I don't know where it's kind of all going, but
I promise you this, based on where we saw last week, the industry's going.
Yeah.
Their show is going to be a lot about tabletop tradable card games.
Yep.
That's what they're going to be promoting, because that's where the money is, and that's what people are going to promote. And that's what they'll be talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That's
you know what? Now you've said it. I think I just saw it when I was just scrolling through some of their stuff today. I think one of them is the new Lorcana game.
Yeah. See,
so,
we were
and
just
that's
talking about
that's about to get a major corporate push heading into convention season.
That would
Which
be
they said,
that would be probably heavily covered on their channel.
I mean, I was even at Miniature Market this past weekend over in St. Louis, and they had a whole room teaching people how to play Lorcana.
Oh wow!
They had people there, so it's getting ready for be a major push. And I'm sure this would be something like this that they would do.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a game I'm not really interested in.
Take a look at the reward levels too, if you want to see their focus. It doesn't tell us. I agree with you, Gary. You don't know what the show is going to be about. They're not really telling you. They're just talking about we're gonna produce this from you. But if you look at the rewards, the first one, it's sold out. Free Rune Quest starter set PDF. That's an RPG. Go to the link. It's RPG. Go to the next one down. The 21-day World Anvil Master Worldsmith subscription. That is all centered on RPGs.
Right.
One of the goals with the $2,500 level at the reward, you get a Game Master screen, custom made from Dogmite.
From Dogmite, yeah.
Like, that's cool, but where's the board gaming? There's not even dice in this thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think there is, but it's RPG dice.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or if they would, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
And again,
this is
right. It's not to disparage.
So
it's just to say, where's the table topping for me in here?
It just comes across as disconnected from what we call the board. I mean, don't say you're going to talk about board games.
And they do. They come out of the gate talking about board games.
That was the first thing I checked. So I'm like, oh, well, maybe they're just doing like, tabletop stuff or something.
Board game, tabletop role-playing games, card games, board games, tournaments. So honestly,
it's
like I don't see a lot of board gaming content coming out of this news.
I want to talk for a minute about about the campaign, because we saw something interesting today.
So let's look at that, right? So if we go to the top, right? So we are 56,000 out of 150,000, 816 backers. Now I've been watching this every day because I'm really curious to see
where it goes,
if it funds, how it funds, and what sort of the story is, what we can all learn from this, right? So earlier today, we were in the low 800s, right? So probably about 807. I think we picked up. So they picked up 9 subscribers since this morning. And their dollar amount, their funding amount was 46,000. They went up 10 grand.
Hello.
Like that. Yeah. So that alarm bells are going off because I'm like, oh, but they have a $10,000 pledge level. So let me see. Oh, did somebody buy that one? Because there were none bought. No, 0 backers. So
Yeah.
So you're looking at 9 people. It goes up 10 grand. Where'd that come from, right? All the other levels that were over a couple thousand hardly have any backing. So where did this money come from? So let's stop sharing for a moment. I'm very curious.
Well, Anthony does his math.
Yes.
He's finding the numbers in the sky.
I'm what they call a math Asian.
And you can't get mad at him for saying that because in one of their
Asian
little
math.
videos, the one person was
she's
like,
not a math Asian. but
I'm not a math Asian.
I am a math Asian.
Anthony's like, well, I am a
I
math
am,
Asian.
and I'm only half a math Asian. So let's go here. So we've got kick track, right? So funding progress, real simple. If we go to daily data, so here's today. You guys can all see this, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Out of the gate, strong, drops significantly. Boom, 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 almost to nothing. And then today, boom, this
Cash
is up
injection.
$10,000 on 9 people.
Yeah, you've got fewer and fewer backers every day, including from yesterday to today.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden,
there's no comment interaction on this.
yeah, like, don't you think if you were an $1,000 backer or even a $500 backer,
you'd be talking
wouldn't
about
you
this.
be on there like super excited for this?
Yep.
Just
So
gave you a bunch of money, right?
What we believe is that there is some sort of funding that's happening outside of the backer space.
Yeah.
A
Think
back
it's
channel.
possible that they're already funded.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This thing's probably already funded, and they're
Yeah.
going to start dropping these, donations in, if you want to call it that.
Mhm.
As we get further into the campaign. I don't think they're going to let this fail. I think there's probably powers that be out there that want to see this
Sure.
succeed.
Mhm. Which just begs the question, like, why not, if you're going to launch a big project like this, it's ambitious, why not come out of the gate, give us a couple episodes, let people see what it's all about, and then let people decide? Because really, that's what makes me go, like, if you really had a product, wouldn't you want to show it off? Like, we would never receive a Kickstarter to review, or not like review, but like to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, well, we don't have a prototype yet,
Yeah.
but here's the idea, here's the concept.
It's a designer telling
here's the
you
theme.
what
It's a pitch.
what game they're
It is. It's a pitch. That's all it is. You're right. It's completely right.
Here's
Lex.
a few prototype
Mhm.
images, just pictures though of what the game
Yeah.
could look like.
Some drawings here. I
Yeah,
got some
this is what it could
drawings.
look like. But I want
Imagine.
150 grand for me to make this game. But I'm only going to make 10 copies of it. I'm going to need another 150 next year when I do another 10 copies.
Yeah.
And I'm
What's
gonna
the
break it
number
up in-
one? What is the number one thing that board gamers will scream about when it comes to a Kickstarter? Number one, every time. If there's no playthrough, they
Yeah,
will
right, that's
scream
true.
to high
Yeah.
heaven. People want to see what
Yeah.
they're bidding, what they're putting their
Yep.
money toward.
Or
Yeah,
the rule
right.
book.
Or the rule
Yes.
book. Yeah, exactly. You want something to
Some-
show
Where's the
you
rules?
what's
I want
this
to see
thing
it.
going to play
What am I
like.
getting?
That's right.
Yeah,
Yep.
what am I buying? This
Yeah, and that's not too much to
campaign-
ask.
No,
Yeah.
this Kickstarter gave nothing.
Yeah.
It gave none of it. And there's people throwing thousands of dollars at it, which is crazy.
Yeah, crazy to me.
And you know
Well,
what? It may
Only
it
800
may,
people.
it may kill it, but this is, to me, this is kind of the very thing that everybody is going away from. Like, it's not real. This isn't. I'm
highly
not getting anything out of
commercialized,
this.
like,
Yeah, this
Yeah.
I'm
is
not
a
part of
complete-
this,
Isn't
this
real.
community.
Yeah, Brandon.
Speaking, well, no, sorry. I
Yeah.
was silencing myself. I wasn't.
Oh,
I
okay.
Gary, I love you. I love your
Love you
opinions.
too.
I love everybody's take. But you just said something that really just keyed me into the tab that I have open. If you look in the page, it says that it's backed by Two Kings Entertainment.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
This is a live production company that has apparently for about over 300 live broadcasts. They are into, it's called TTRPG filmmaking. They have
Wow.
defined it. And
Yeah.
so 10 years, big and small, they talk about this not being corporate, but yet all we see, which I think Francis pointed out, is just corporate this, corporate that. And it's just, this is the model that people are moving away
Mhm.
from.
Yeah.
And it just seems like they're leaning hard into it. Just this commercialized aspect, selling episodes, not giving us a sample, not giving us a rule book, you know, in that sense, you know, not giving us the tangibility. Makes it hard.
There was a highly produced Hollywood-esque type comedy skit show that came out a few years ago called Meeple People.
Yes.
They put out like 10 2-minute episodes, right?
I don't even think
funny.
It was 10. It was funny. Like, it was like, actually good.
The 10 2-minute episodes should have been 1 20-minute episode, to be honest. It was like a sitcom of a group of people who played board games and were pretty funny, right?
Yeah.
And it never went anywhere. Like, they promoted the heck out of this thing. And like, we were even part of the promotion. We had to be part of it. And it just died because nobody really cared, right? And the fact that they did it in such small bits, and the fact that I hear that they're trying to do that with this news thing it's a recipe for disaster. It's like the taco store that opens up in our town every year. It opens up and then it shut down. They go out of business. The next store that comes in, another taco joint. This is literally 3 times in our town have taco joints open, and every one of them closes down after a year. So I'm like, maybe
it's
stop.
It is like tacos. Everybody comes in and they're like, it's like the taco place goes out of business, and then somebody comes in and goes, you know what'd be really good? This town's missing a taco place.
Like,
so let's sell luxury tacos.
They're not reading the room. No. They're not reading. They don't know their demographic.
That's exactly the point.
We've lived in this town, in this house for 3 years, and we've been 3 taco places. We've been in town longer, but we've had 3 taco places in the same spot.
Yeah.
All different brands, and they all fail.
And 1 taco place across town.
Yeah.
Like a minute away.
Yeah. So like, how many people need to eat tacos?
That also shut down before it even opened.
And it's gourmet tacos, so it's expensive. So when I see this, like,
this is exactly the same thing. It's better expensive. It's the $150,000 tacos.
Yeah. Like,
that's what
this is. And it's like,
and they love to eat their tacos. Like, I feel like this is just a project for them because this is what they love to do. They love to act, they love to perform, they love to just they don't have anything prepared because this is what they do. They improv and they go by the seat of their pants. And this is literally them just wanting to play dress up.
Yeah.
I mean, Pretty Princess is one of the goals.
I saw that. And again, I'm
literally
just not
playing
sure.
dress up.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure where this is going. Like, the content I want is to consume board game content. And like, that's it.
Yeah.
Give me the news, give me the facts, give me the data. And I'm happy. I don't need all this.
And that's what I think it would be great.
Fluff.
But it's just it's disenchanting.
It
just seems like it's not what it could be.
It's a grift, just like you said before, man.
You know, this has also been tried before in the board game industry. Remember about 3, maybe 4 years ago, there was a show, I think it was supposed to be on Netflix, called like Above Board or something.
Yes.
And it was like content creators were invited. In fact, I know Vassal was that. That's when I first heard about it. There's even clips of him out. There's like a little board, it's like a little game show with board game creators. I don't think it ever even released.
I don't think it went anywhere.
And they made content. So I don't know, maybe it was terrible. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
it's so hard to do this in this space because people are we're trying to escape from all of this. Right.
And you're bringing it into our escape space, right?
Right. And maybe it'll be highly successful, but it's not, I don't know where it's going to land. I mean, maybe that's why a lot of people aren't backing this because they're like, you know what? You put out some episodes because it's obvious. I'm guessing they're still going to do it even if they don't fund.
Right.
Yeah.
Put out some episodes, and if it's amazing, then restart your,
Right. And what people are going to think about is it worth my money?
Right.
Like, do I really care for you to do this? Right. You could be like, well, I already support Dice Tower.
Yeah.
Like, why do I need to support you too? Right.
Well, and here's you made me think about something because this is a different conversation for a different day, but that is kind of the motivation behind backing Kickstarters, which is also one of my big pet peeves in the industry because we don't, when I say we, Universal, we don't back crowdfunding projects anymore necessarily because you believe in the project. People are backing for the promos. They're backing for all the crap that you get, the rewards,
basically,
and they're backing as a pre-order for a game that may or may not hit retail.
They're afraid it's not going to hit retail.
Right?
That's the big thing.
Or they want it first, to be honest.
Well, you want it first. But you end up not getting it first,
which is why people get upset. But I'm like, guy, you ordered it, and you're ordering it because you're investing in a project. That is what crowdfunding is. your reward is that maybe you're getting some extra bonuses along with your thing when you get it. Not that you're going to get it before everybody else. That was not the promise. But what I'm saying is, with this, perhaps also the rewards just aren't as enticing, and they're believing that people really want to back this project because they believe in it, when really that's not the culture that we have in this space.
And maybe they're hoping for some of their tabletop RPG fans to chime in and cough up some cash. And I don't think that's translating.
Yeah.
It's definitely
here's the other thing. They already have a pilot of this. Will Wheaton, his tabletop. That was all centered on board games. That's where I learned a lot about modern board games. I'm not a fan of Will Wheaton. I don't think that's any secret. But at the same time, that actually was board game centered. It focused on the hobby, and they didn't kickstart a thing.
But I think, again, like we were talking about earlier, it had a lot to do with the celebrity aspect.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, it was good, and he had the studio, he had the ability, the money, whatever. And he had the celebrities.
He had the celebrities. There were a lot. It was pretty cool watching.
They were, you're right.
Real Hollywood actors. Yeah.
But think about Critical Role. A lot of people want to duplicate the Critical Role thing. They weren't celebrities. Like, they were voice actors. They were famous in their own spaces. But like, Ashley Johnson, I think, was the most famous because she was in Avengers. She was in a couple of things like that.
She was actually in Growing Pains.
Yes.
Yeah, she was.
That's where
So there was some celebrity there too. So I get it, but it's everybody wants to try to repeat these things, and I think there's a lot of risk involved.
There's a ton of risk. You're right.
When you don't have the celebrity.
That's spot on, because there's been too many attempts at it that have not caught on.
Right.
And like Gary was saying, it's a ton of work. It's so much work.
Yeah. It's a lot of work to do what we do.
$100,000.
Yeah,
a lot of work to do what we do on a small scale. It's hard work.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the thing? It's like, just do it. Just start your channel, and you'll get a huge backing. I mean,
maybe Gary should follow his own advice here.
My set is awesome. I spent a lot of money on this set.
No, start your channel, man. I'll wait for the channel.
Is that the 2x3 calyx?
That's right. Yeah.
Oh my!
Got in a fire sale for $10.
I ask every week, and I drive every week because I'm like, dude, where's your? I need you to start a channel, man.
Yeah, I got more views than a lot of people out in here.
I think
Gary has all the influence.
I think you would be very successful at your own channel.
I'm resting on my past laurels.
Yeah. You, for someone who doesn't create content, you have a lot of knowledge about what games are out there and what games have been out there for a long time.
It's just something. Well, when I got into it around 2013, it's just something I just love. I love seeing all the kind of the new stuff, and I like finding those like hidden gems. Like, one of our most favorite things to do at Gen Con was to go like the Wednesday before.
Yeah.
And you just walk around the floor and just talk when nobody's out there, but you talk all the people out there and just like, oh, hey, you got anything new? And just kind of, just finding new hidden gems, and stuff like that. But I just love the hobby so much.
Well, speaking of old hidden gems, I think we're done stomping on Kickstarter campaign. I think we beat that one into the ground. But you know what? We're honest, right? I think we're pretty open and honest about our thoughts on that, and I think we're saying what a lot of people are probably thinking.
Yeah, absolutely.
It shouldn't come across as a surprise.
The product will prove whether it stands or falls. So
and look, I'm not rooting.
Product. That's what I want to see.
I'm not rooting against it.
Yeah.
I just think that they expected a lot of things without providing any value up front.
And we weren't being paid to hate it or to love it.
No, we're not.
Wait, what? I don't get.
We are not chills. We are not chills for the hate.
Oh, it's funny.
Creation, folks.
I'm going to plug that book again because it's so funny. Like, they were talking in the book about how I think it was like Snooki got sent that Gucci bag. Does anybody remember this? By, I guess, I don't know, his coach or somebody else sent her this Prada, maybe sent her a Gucci bag, because they were like, if she's out there with the Gucci bag, nobody wants to have her style, so they won't buy the Gucci anymore, because they're like, oh, that's like a Snooki thing or whatever. I think they also paid the situation not to wear Abercrombie and Fitch for a while, because they're
paying an influencer not to wear their product.
So they actually do pay influencers, or other companies will pay influencers to, like, So Anthony, for instance, they always have those hot takes. Like, I guess we should back this campaign.
So
all right,
let's pivot into our games, I think.
Yeah.
Right. So who wants to go first?
Go ahead, Brandon. I want to hear your game.
Like
He's
that.
pointing to
Lexi,
Lexi.
Lexi, I want to hear your game.
Lexi, yes.
Lexi.
Yeah, we're tag teaming it. This is a favorite of mine. I love worker placement, and so back when this game was introduced to us, that was what the store owner was going off of, is my love for worker placement, because back then I was very, very new into the hobby, and this is Lorenzo il Magnifico, and it's from you're basically like a noble family in the Renaissance period, and you have 4 workers. You're trying to gain prestige by putting your workers out in different places. But the awesome part about this game is the dice. So your workers' values are determined by the dice that you roll at the beginning of each round. There's 4 different types of cards that are placed in towers that you're trying to obtain, and you kind of have to figure out what strategy you're going to go with. There's 4 different types of cards. There's the green ones are territories, which are basically production of resources. Then there's buildings. That's the yellow cards. That's production as well. It's more like multipliers. Then you have character cards that give you some bonuses. And then what's the other type of card? I forget what the last card is.
Ones are the
purple ones.
Points.
Oh yeah, the end game points. So it's just like a basic worker placement game, but that tension is really in deciding what you're going to do with your the values of the dice and your workers, and I love this game.
Yeah, we just played this one at 4. Before we played it at 2, and it does play well at 2. It has tiles that cover up certain parts of the board to tighten it up.
It does play well.
This game feels so, it's tight the whole way through. And what I mean by that is it just feels like every decision you're making is agonizing. Do I go for the blue cards because there's set collection at the end of the game for the blue cards? The green cards are free, but you have to activate them by getting a certain spot on the board. And if you don't get that spot, then you have to please the church by building up your faith.
So you have to obtain the cross symbols on the cards. And if you don't reach a certain level on the track at the end of the round, you could be excommunicated. And I thought that was pretty fun.
But what's great about that is one of the penalties, remember the last game we played?
Yeah.
One of the penalties didn't affect me in my strategy at all. And I chose not to take the victory points in round 2, take the penalty, and then you don't have to move your tracker all the way back to the start. Because at the end of each of the eras, the rounds 2, 4, and 6, there are 6 rounds in the game. Yeah. At 2, 4, and 6, you do the scoring for the excommunication. You can choose to leave your marker where it is, because I got it all the way to the end for 30 victory points. And so so you can play that strategy, and even that you have no idea if it's going to work. And I was like, oh no, like, do I do this? That is so, I love that in games.
This game has always been so close. Every time we played it,
I won by 1 point.
Yeah, at 2-player, 3-player, 4-player, it's always very, very close. And I just love the mitigation of the dice too, because you have servants that can add to your pips, because some of the spaces there's requirements for the value of your workers. And so you can't go to those spaces if you don't have enough pips. And some of the cards are like 7. You need 7. You're like, well, it's only a 6-sided die. So how do I do that? Well, you have servants. And that's another spot that you can go to. But I really liked it most at 4 because of the limited spaces. At 2, it wasn't as tense. It wasn't as tight. So yeah, 3 or 4 was definitely much, much better. But I love this because every time you play it, there's so much variability. And the leader cards, we haven't played with the leader cards. Or maybe we did one time. Just one time. And that adds another element, because there's certain requirements that you can put out your leaders and they give you some bonuses and stuff like that. Yeah. But there's just the randomness in this with the cards and how they come out. And if somebody takes your spot, there's so much reactive playing in this that I love games where you can plan your turn, but then somebody sucks and they roll a bunch of ones. And so you have to, you don't have any servants. So, that spot's taken. You got to plan B, plan C. So I love games like that. Those 3 dice
affect everybody at the table.
Yeah.
And it's really neat that you have that shared pool of those 3 dice.
Yeah.
And everybody, so now servants matter, but then there's only certain spots on the board that give you servants, you know, so things like that. And the thing is, the cards that are in those towers, there's ages 1, 2, and 3, and there's 8 cards in each age. So you're going to see the same cards every game, but where they are, and if you pass them by and no one takes it, it's gone for the rest of the game.
Right.
Every card is unique, and so it's so juicy, it's so good. And I think if Gary is going to get a chance to get a word in edgewise here, he probably would tell us that we need to get the expansion. Gary.
Yes.
I was actually thinking about that. When I first played this game, when it came out, I liked it. I didn't
play
love
with us,
it.
Gary?
Huh?
Didn't you play with us?
I think we played it at Gen Con.
We did.
I think we did play it at Gen
absolutely
Con.
did.
I played it a couple times, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And it, you know, I would have probably gave it about an 8 out of 10. Then the expansion came out, and it fixed a little bit of things that some people had issues with, just some of the balancing, maybe with the military, and it added a 4th tower. This game, there's a handful of like Euro games. I just think they're just close to perfect as you're going to get with a game like Orleans, Grand Austria Hotel, Lorenzo Il Magnifico with that expansion. It is a 10 out of 10. It is so good. I love this game so much. And the expansion, yes, to me it's essential. Obviously, the game is great by itself. You get the expansion. Oh, it even opens up even more. It's so good.
Wow. Well, that's a good selling point. It's on Amazon, the expansion.
I was looking at it today.
Do we have the expansion, or did we get rid of it?
If you get is it Capstone that puts it out now?
I don't know.
Somebody has redone it, and it all of it is in the game now.
I think so. It might be Capstone. I think it was Capstone.
I'd have to look. It's over there, and
we definitely want to give this game another chance because
we got rid of it.
Yeah, we at the time
definitely need to.
We like it. I think we were taught wrong initially.
No, I'll tell you exactly what happened. Jeremy taught us wrong at Gen Con.
Yeah.
And we liked it a lot. We loved it. We played it. We filmed it. We did a review of it. And we played it completely wrong based on how we learned the game.
Yep.
And we really enjoyed it. It was really crunchy. Like all the decisions, the little columns were so good. Like everything was so great. And then somebody was like, you guys played this completely wrong.
We had to refilm it.
We reread the rules. We had to refilm it. The camera died halfway through the reshoot, by the way.
Yeah.
Didn't like the game as much with the rules, the way that they were written.
Yeah.
And then had to complete this review.
So it left a sour taste.
It left a very sour taste.
Yeah.
I think it was like Lorenzo.
Yeah, she was like Lorenzo Il Magnifico ?
I don't know.
And it wasn't because the game was bad. It was because our experience was bad.
Was just so bad.
And that's unfortunate because it's really unfortunate.
But then the expansion came out, and I believe we did buy it, but we didn't ever play it.
I don't think we got the expansion. I think we ended up. We were just so sour on the whole experience.
We hadn't played it,
and I think we had gotten rid of it. And then I heard the expansion came out that addressed a few of the issues we thought we had with it, and I was like, we got rid of it. Why did we do that? So it's not always good to make those impulse decisions.
Right. By the way, the expansion is still published by Simon. It's called Houses of Renaissance, and it is available.
If you get the Lorenzo Il Magnifico big box, it's Cranio Creations does that now.
Cranio, yeah.
So they give you everything, including the promos too, which are okay.
I think that's the version that we had.
No, we didn't. We had this one.
Just get the expansion. If you already have the base game, you're gonna have it all.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
We
10 You'll have it all.
You'll have it all.
Seek it. We will seek it out. We will
Yeah.
seek it out for sure because I think we're missing out on a good experience.
Yeah, and that's exactly why when we were talking about Carnegie, I made that face, the last video that Lexi and I did. We did a top, what was that? The top 5 or top something we did?
Top 10 of 2022.
And I think Carnegie is a good game, but this experience soured me.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting how that can really mess with it, and especially content creation. It took me 4 shoots to get Mosaic right. And when I was done with that, I just was over it. It wasn't the game's fault. I still love the game. I do, but I had to put it away for a while. I'm like, So isn't that amazing how
it does.
This game, this is one game that miraculously Gary and I especially, we really agree. We don't always agree on the games, but boy, this isn't that funny how like you can land on one and it's so good.
Yep.
It's just so
this
good.
is a winner.
I enjoy it every time. It's always competitive. Lexi and I trade winning and losing in this one because we both just really enjoy playing it. It's just, and it's fun. It's
Yeah.
different every time we play it.
It is.
So
Yeah.
It's a shame. There's certain games when you just have a bad early experience with it.
yeah.
You just
Yeah.
at least
Time
it's like
stories.
I think
Kanban
Merlin
is
Merlin
another
was
one.
one we had a bad experience
Oh,
with.
Merlin.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
A
Merlin.
lot of people
And I
did.
think that was another one that Jeremy taught us as well. Like, and I think it was like, and I'm starting to see a theme here.
Don't forget
Yeah,
Newton.
oh, Newton.
Oh,
Yeah.
Newton. Oh,
Yeah,
Newton.
Newton was the other one. He
Newton
taught
was
us
the
that
other
wrong
one.
too.
Yes.
And we were just like, why? Like every time he taught us a game and he taught us wrong, we would learn it, play it, realize how to really play it,
Right.
and then the whole experience was like,
Well,
forget
and
it.
then
I'm not
maybe
doing
it was yeah. Newton definitely was.
I'm like,
another
I'm not
one,
letting
because
anybody
I was
teach me
like,
I think we were all learning
I
that at
liked
Gen
it.
Con.
Yes,
We did,
Yep.
and it was another one that I liked it better the way
Yeah,
we played
it's
it,
like-
and then we played
Yeah.
it the right
but
way,
you break these
and you
rules
just
so bad.
it's just not the way it's meant to be played.
So,
That being said, I think that there are some games too that I think the rule books when they're translated, and like
Mm.
Cranio is a big
Yeah.
one. Like a lot of the Cranio games we
Mhm.
struggle with because the rule books just are nuanced and the
Mhm.
translations are not.
it's not clear.
Clear?
Like some of it's a little bit ambiguous, and you're
So-
like, oh, I think they must
and
mean this, and
you
then it's
assume
completely
things that are completely wrong, and it completely changes the
wrong.
whole
Yeah,
game.
because it doesn't
So,
seem
yeah.
intuitive at
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah, that's true. But what Gary said about Orleans, Lorenzo, and we haven't played Grand Austria Hotel.
No, but I want
it's
to.
in my
Really?
wish
so
list.
good.
Yeah.
So
Recommend.
good,
Play
yeah.
that.
Oh.
Yep.
These
Must play.
these Italian designers are
Yeah.
crushing it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you can tell they haven't stopped. Like this is
Nope.
2016. We're
Yeah.
7
Yep.
years removed, and they're still
Yeah.
kicking.
Well, I still
Yeah.
haven't played Gollum.
You still haven't
And-
played Gollum,
yeah.
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 And
Gollum
Yeah,
is
Gollum's
good
good
too.
too.
oh,
Gollum's
it's
good
so
too.
Yeah.
good. It is.
Let
Yeah.
us know if you want us to bring any of these to AAG
Yes.
because
We have Gollum,
there's
but
no more
yeah.
games
I know.
now.
I
What
looked
we're
back
gonna-
because it was back there.
What
for
we're
a
gonna
while.
start, what we're gonna do closer to the event is we're gonna start seeing what games are being popular, like requested. We may
Yeah.
have multiple copies that need to be brought in since we
Yeah.
don't have a big library.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Just let us know ahead of
We
time.
will,
We'll
yeah.
hit the library.
but all the
All right.
Italians, bring them all. They're,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah,
so
good. Yeah,
good.
they're good.
Oh, they're so good.
All right, Garrett, hit us up
All
with
right,
your
my
game.
turn. Hey, Brandon, did you ever play Ultimate Railroads yet?
I have not.
No.
I haven't.
Oh,
I know I
okay.
need to.
Which is Russian Railroads for those out there that don't know. It's the new big box. They call it Ultimate Railroads.
Ultimate
Hmm.
Railroads.
So, yes, I know that copy.
Mm.
Yes, Gary sold it to me. Thank you,
Oh,
Gary.
Russian
You didn't
Railroads.
sell it to me. You picked it up for
I
me.
picked it up
on
for you.
discount.
Yeah,
Yes,
picked up
you
it. That's right.
haven't
So
played it yet.
that's same guy, helmet. What's his last name? Oli. Oli.
Yeah.
Oli, yeah.
Helmut Oli. First class. All aboard
Yes.
the Orient Express.
It's a good game
Oh, I
Yeah.
should have the
Same
whistle.
guy.
too. Yeah.
What'd you say?
All aboard.
The
All
whistle,
aboard.
man.
All aboard. Yeah.
There you go.
That's my first all
What I'm
aboard.
here
All right. I think this game started out actually, if I remember correctly, as Russian Railroad, the card game.
Oh wow.
And as it went on, it turned into something else. And this game, I love this game a ton. Have you guys played it, Francis, Anthony? Have you played?
We
I
have
think we did
have
the
first class.
Kickstarter for this, didn't we?
Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't a Kickstarter when we
Mm-mm.
did it.
We have it though.
Oh, we
Okay.
We do it. We have it.
So basically, it's played over 6 rounds. You're only going to take 18 cards in the whole game. So it's like 3 cards around. And there's you have a grid of 6 by 3 cards, right? And that's where you're going to be pulling your cards. And you're going to have a little player board like this, okay?
Mhm.
And you're going to have wrong way. You have train. You're going to have train cards that are going to extend all the way out here, so that you can build up your train. There's multiple ways to win this game. You can build up your train cars. Right here, you have your train line, and those be cards that you'll pick out of this grid. They go to your trains, or pick out cards that go to this line, and you see the railway will go on these cards, and you'll move you have a little train sitting here, and you'll move it around the track, and it'll open up bonuses and points and coins. You also can get coins, and as you build up your coins, you'll trigger certain bonuses. And there's even a little bit of a set collection part over here. And you're like, wow, there's a lot going on, but you only have 18 cards. You're getting 18 cards. And I love the grid action because depending on how many players you play, so you're looking at these rows, you're like, yeah, okay, yeah, I'm going to get a train car here. Then I'm going to grab that rail over there. Oh, wait a minute. Too many cards have been taken out of that row. We wiped the whole row. And you're like, oh, there goes my plan.
Wow.
So
I would like that though.
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
is, you're trying like, okay, I want, because you can see everybody else. It's all open draft. You can
Mhm.
see everybody's cards. You're like, oh man, is Brandon going to take that railway? Probably is. 'Cause he hates me right now.
Yeah.
His car. So you're playing with that, and it also comes with these modules.
Yeah.
It comes with, I think, 6 modules, and there's like 2 others you can purchase.
Mhm.
And you always will play with 2 modules. You can mix and match them. I haven't played with the newest one where there's like a magician that's loose on the train, so I don't know how that plays. Like I gotta play this. I gotta get David Blaine out here on my train and see what's going on. And so it's great. You know, you play with like the luggages, and there's celebrity cards and all that sort of
Yeah,
stuff. And there's even
Mhm.
on-track cards you can get. Like, you know what, I'm gonna get so many of this because there'll be in-game scoring. And yeah, you know, I remember teaching this to some people at my church. There was 4 of us. Took about 20 minutes maybe to teach the game. And we played it through so fast. We played, I think, 3 games in a row that night. It was like, let's do this
Oh, wow.
again. So you just
Yeah.
wipe everything. You just it's just setting up the cards,
Yeah.
shuffling everything, pull out different modules. Like, let's play with this module. There's even a murder mystery one, which is okay, but all the other modules are great. But yeah, that I'm sorry, I keep bringing up games that are kind of hard to find, like Automania in the last video, and
Yeah.
I think First Class is a tough one to find too. But
Is
if you
it?
can find it, pick it up. I'll never let this game go out of my library. It's so good. It plays super fast, super smooth. Anybody can learn it. But yeah, that's First Class. I'm a
awesome.
big fan of this guy's
Yeah.
work. So
Yeah, we love that game.
We love
too.
that one as well. It was a lot of fun. I like the fact that it's a card game for trains. Which is just
Yeah.
different. It's just
Yeah.
different.
That's what it looks like.
and it looks really nice too. I mean, your display gets a little long, so you got have
Mhm.
everybody got a little bit of space. It looks really, because Michael Menzel did the art, so you know it looks nice. And
That's
So,
what
yeah.
I recognized it. It
Yeah.
looked like him.
What
He
else
has
did
a
he
very
do?
distinct style. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he did Rococo.
He did Pillars
The
of the Earth.
original.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's done it quite a bit.
He's done a
yeah.
lot of stuff.
The original Rococo.
Yeah.
The original
Yeah,
Rococo.
the original
yeah.
Rococo. He also did Legends of Andor, that whole series. In
Oh,
fact, he designed
okay.
that too. That's all
Yeah.
him.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
It's
very
good
distinct
art. Yeah,
style.
it's a pretty game.
I like
Very
his
pretty
stuff.
game.
Yeah. Yep. You'll like that.
Yeah, I like that. That's good.
All right.
Cool.
We can cover our game.
Yeah, absolutely. It was hard to pick
Yeah,
because
no.
it was like, and I think I speak for everybody when I'm saying we deliberately did not pick Terraforming Mars,
Mhm.
Scythe. A lot of these games have been covered ad nauseum.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
try
we
to pick
don't
some gems
we don't have a copy of the game to show you because all of our games are packed.
packed in boxes.
Most of them are about 500 of them are in storage. The other 100 are in boxes right now.
Yeah.
in, like heavy.
We are moving tomorrow.
And this game
morning,
is in one of
so-
these boxes, but I'm not taking it out because we're moving tomorrow. But I will share my screen with you because I can at least go up to the publisher's website
Yes.
and show you A Feast for Odin.
Yes, such a good game.
Uwe Rosenberg.
Uwe Rosenberg, last good game.
One of the last ones that I really enjoyed. So it's definitely a chunky game, and even without the expansion, the Norwegians, I believe it's called. But it is a worker placement game. And what's really interesting about this game is you can see these are all worker placement spots, by the way, that you choose from, and there are just so many. Right, the player boards are just like, what is happening here, right? So you've got like slots for boats that you're going to upgrade. You've got this table in the upper right that are all the people that you have to feed every round because it is a feast for Odin. You've got this whole board where you've got to actually do tile placement. So it's like a bunch of different games in one because you're trying to manage this board here and fill it in with your goods. And I think the biggest thing to know about this game, and it comes with these trays, is that you basically turn orange goods into red goods to green goods to blue goods.
Yeah.
So you're like, and then every good has like 2 sides. So you're just converting goods into other goods. And then the further up the chain you go, the more valuable the good becomes. And then when you get the good to the point where it's of good value, you drop that into your little board here to get points, right? You're also going to get these relics too that you're going to bring back and drop in your board, for those different like Tetris shapes. And you're trying to fill in and cover up all these spots because it's going to increase your income to give you coins, because those coins can be used to also fill in those hard to fill in one little unit spots.
One grid spots.
You're going to raise animals. You're going to breed animals. It's like there's just so much going on in this game. It's like you could literally, if you taught somebody this for the first time, they're going to look at this board and go, I don't even know where to begin and put my guy.
Yeah.
Because it's just
experience.
Yes.
Yeah, it can paralyze you with indecision because there's like, I don't know, do I go whaling to get meat or should I hunt?
But that's the cool thing about the game too, is that you can play it so many different ways.
Yeah.
Like you could go whaling the one game, or you could go heavy farming, or you could go goods conversion like all the way to the top. You know what I mean?
It's just
there's just so many different ways to play, and it's one of those you just got to jump in and see what works, see what sticks, and then find a route and stick with it.
Yep. And when this isn't enough for you, you can go and get one of these side island boards to fill in more squares,
which we always do.
And if you
don't you start off with negative like 85?
You do. Yes.
You start off with negative, and you're trying to cover the negative up. You're trying to cover the loss up. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're going to lose
points
points for all of these grid spaces that are not covered.
Yep.
That are not covered.
So you're going to lose points because you're not going to fill the whole thing. It's just you may, if you get an island, then forget it. You're definitely not going to. But the islands are good because they give you resources,
right?
To help you do more of that stuff. So it's just a really enjoyable game. Once you understand the worker placement mechanics. And now, like he does this with a lot of his games, in that like you've got so many decisions. In this game, he's done quite a few worker placement actions, whereas in like Caverna, it's more about the buildings, and you've got 1,000 different buildings you can choose from, and that's where you get paralyzed, because it's like, all right, I only have so many actions I can take, and every round a new one comes out, but you're like, all right, there's 50,000 rooms I can choose to build in my cavern here. And that room is going to determine how I score the rest of the game. So it's like, that's just the way the guy designs. And back when he was designing these games is where I personally believe this is where his sweet spot was.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because it's just, there's so much going on, and it's just so rewarding when you can get it to work, because I think that's half the battle. And I think the last time you and I played, I got absolutely murdered.
Yeah, you did.
I just wasn't efficient enough. I just wasn't.
Yeah.
A murder for Anthony instead of a feast for Odin.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it was bad. Like I scored so terrible.
What was your high scoring game?
I don't remember. It was like, I think she was well over 100 points.
Yeah.
I was just looking at my well, you can't see it, my my board game stats for the very first game I played of this. I scored 5.
There you go.
Yeah.
It was like I scored like.
I'm gonna put it out there. I'm a really bad Feast for Odin player.
Yeah, it's a tough game. I think I scored like something like around 50-ish points.
Yeah.
And she was well over 100. Like it was.
I scored 62 my first game.
Yeah.
I think you just did it.
Which is good. It's good.
Yeah.
But it's not a great score, right? Like
it's really 140. Like if you figure you're covering up negative 85 and then getting into the positive. So really your score is 140, whatever, if you're in the 60s, but that's not how you score it. Yeah.
But I think we were playing with the extra boards and
we
stuff.
Playing
and
with
you were like, you just like weren't paying attention to covering anything up.
I get lost in all the fun stuff. I'm just like, oh man, I'm going to go whaling again because it's cool.
We're just out there whaling.
And I'm like not filling in my board, and I'm like, I don't care. And I'll just have, but it's fun. You know what I mean? Like I play and I have fun, but then it's like, man, I got just destroyed. But that's a game. If you have somebody who's new to board game and you want them to never want to play board games again, like you bring out Feast for Odin.
Unless you're me.
Yeah, you will. They'll be like, I don't like your hobby at all. Like, this is
what's interesting though is there are 4 columns of basically 4 columns. It's not exact. Some of the actions at the bottom are wider, but they do require certain numbers of workers. And early in the game, you don't have that many workers.
Right.
So in essence, early game, you got half the board, half the spots are locked off because you really can't go.
Right.
So, or you can't use the conversions that are there because you don't have the prerequisites.
Yeah.
Right.
So I try to let people know, like, yes, this looks daunting, but first part of the game, and that's how I was taught, and Kyle did a great job. He did. He taught it fine for me because it was overwhelming, and he teaches quick. So I had to like catch on quick.
Yeah.
And basically he that's how he said it. He was like, these advanced actions are going to take more workers than you have available, even though you do have, but you won't have the prerequisites. So focus from left to right, basically, in complexity.
Yeah.
And that actually helped me learn each action because they're all related.
Yeah.
So if you pick one row, they're all related from left to right.
Yep.
So it's nice. Like they're all like almost categorized, and it's kind of
Right.
cool. So once you focus your strategy, you're like, oh, well, I can do this to do this.
Yep.
It's fun. And you're right.
Yeah.
This is just such,
I
for me,
haven't
this is
played
just
this
such a
one.
breezy game to just say,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
I
would
love
like it. Like
Yeah,
I
when
say.
you when you learn it
Yeah.
and you get the actions down,
Yeah.
it's just fun being able to hit those combos and convert the goods, and because
Right.
it's like, yes,
So
I made
good.
it work. Yeah, and
Are
it's
there
but
pigs?
There are pigs.
Okay.
there are
I'm in.
pigs. Yeah.
I'm in.
The worst is when you go hunting or whaling though, because you have to roll dice. That's the one part I don't like.
Yeah.
Is that
That's
because
true.
Oh.
you could put all your workers on this thing and
Right.
go and you roll and you don't succeed. You get like a
whiff.
consolation prize, but
Yeah.
it's nowhere near
Right.
what you were supposed to get for the,
There's a
for the
minnow.
whale meat. Yeah, like you get like a little fish and something else versus
of a
this
whale.
giant piece of whale, which
Yeah.
covers
You
up
get
a
an-
good part of
You
your
get an
board.
appetizer instead of the
Yeah.
full
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
That can ruin a turn like
But the
pretty
cool
bad.
thing is that's like
Yeah.
it's not the whole game.
It's not the
right?
whole game.
So
Yeah.
it's like,
But it
just
makes
that
you really
part.
hesitant about
Yeah.
taking that action because you're like, I'm risking a lot here. But
Yeah.
I think if you have like those spears or something, the harpoons, right? They
Yeah.
Yes.
mitigate that.
It's also high risk, high reward. And I like
It
games
is.
that
Yep.
at least give me the option of betting it all, you know,
Right. Yeah.
and rolling the 2 dice. And I actually had it work out pretty good. 62 for a first game score. My opponent played it. He knew the game left and right, and
Yeah.
he had 102. So
Yeah.
he beat
Right.
me by 40 points, but he knew the game. But
Pretty
He knew
good.
the game.
it just clicked for me. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed the
Yeah.
whole
That's
thing.
good.
It was so fun.
Yeah, the dicey part always reminds me of Champions of Midgard, where you've got that
Yes.
big
Oh.
risk, and you're like, "What am I gonna
Big
do it?"
risk,
And you're
big
like,
reward.
"No."
Yeah.
So-
Have any of you played
That's a
Fields
good
of
game.
Arl?
yes,
Yeah.
So that's a very, I mean, he took that big board mechanic from that, obviously, for Feast for Odin. So
yeah,
I get all like, tons of options, but that's just a 2-player game, which is nice if you, don't want to get
Yeah.
into the Feast for Odin. But
yeah. There's that. Those are the classics that I really enjoyed
Yeah.
of the Uwe designs. Once the more recent stuff, I'm not really a big fan of. I think it's kind of, I don't know if it
That's
got
the
lighter
lighter stuff.
for whatever
yeah.
reason, but they just-
quilting.
yeah. And even that fishing one wasn't that
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
good.
News for it.
news for it.
Yeah.
Didn't really love that one either. But,
Yeah.
all right. Brandon, did you have a game?
Well, I mean, I did. I
He
don't have a
does.
whole lot to say about it, but I think
I
Francis won.
did.
So Francis, you can step in and help me with this one.
Okay. Sure.
I wanted to talk about it, but then the more I'm looking at it, the more I'm like, well, I remember the play. I remember I really, really liked it, and I know a lot of people like it. It's not really a hidden gem at this point.
Oh
yeah.
yes.
But
Okay.
it is
Cool.
Manhattan
We can tag
Project
team this
Energy
one.
Empire. Everyone on
Yeah.
Discord, they pressured me into buying this. I have to. And I think Gary was part of that.
This is really good. This
This
is
I
is
a
like
good
very
that.
game.
good. We
Yeah.
played this at 2, and it was great. Like
It
I
was.
love
Yep.
the energy dice thing. Like,
Yep.
like if you want the high polluting dice, but there's bigger rewards on it, or you
Right.
That's
take
what I
the
did.
solar or the hydro dice, like the green or blue ones.
Right.
There's less
Yeah.
rewards, less energy,
Uh-huh.
but like they're cleaner, so they don't pollute your environment.
Right.
Like,
Right.
that tension is constantly there. The fact that you lose all your energy. You lose all your energy at the end of each round. Like you
Yep.
just lose it whether you've used it or not. Like
Right.
it really rewards efficiency, and I really like efficiency games.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
That's a good point.
But like I said, and there's achievements in the game which I tend to like. But for me, the best part was dealing with those dice and just trying to get the energy and balancing the reward with
Yes.
all the pollution, and then locking off part of
Right.
my board. Because
Yep.
if you put too much pollution in there, then you can't put all the cool stuff in there that you need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just very, very good. And I want to play this more. I cannot
Yeah.
find. I
Yeah, we
cannot
only played it
find-
once.
I cannot find the expansion that everyone talks about. The one
Oh, there's an
Oh.
expansion.
Are you talking about
There's-
the little small card deck of
with the
cards?
green, with the what's it called? It's
I
got the
think-
green letters.
I think
um,
my local game store has that.
Oh, I was just looking at this. Hang on a second. I
I'll
was
go by
just
and
looking at
check
it
for
on
you.
Board Game Geek. Let me see.
It's such a smart game.
It
It's got
really
the
is.
it's got
Cold
the chunky
War.
dice.
Cold
and
War.
Cold War expansion.
Cold
Cold
War.
War. Yep.
Yeah, the chunky dice are cool. It's got those little metal oil barrels.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The
And
production's
uh,
amazing.
yeah, what's cool is that you could take those temporary energy dice that are really high pollutant, but you get one roll with them, like for that one round. You don't have to
Yeah.
have it in your infrastructure,
Yes.
but you you can pay for it, and it does a lot of pollution. But if you need the energy,
Right.
If you need the energy, you have to do it. Yeah.
And
There
it's
are
cool
ways to mitigate. I think there's ways to clean up the pollution, but it's
There
hard.
There are.
Yep.
There
Yeah,
are.
it's hard.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
there's an action that does it.
But what I
Yeah.
no, there's cards too, because I think
There's
what
cards.
I usually do, because this, for those of you who don't know, this is like very much a tableau builder and a tableau management game. So you have your card tableau, but then you also have your board, which is your environment that you're potentially drilling your oil or getting
Put
your
oil
energy
rigs
or
out there
whatever.
on the,
You're
in
putting
the
stuff
earth
out,
and the sea.
and that's where you have to clean up your pollution. But your game, your actions are really played on your cards in your tableau. So you're trying to constantly get different cards that your tableau builds your country. Like you play as a country.
You do, yeah.
And so you start the game with kind of like, you know, like Russia and I think like China and stuff all start with like
China's got like a lot of
lots
coal.
of pollution, like coal pollution and stuff. But
it's
but
pretty
like
funny.
US
thematic.
starts
It's
with
very
a ton of
thematic.
Yeah.
Very
it's
thematic.
very thematic. But from there you can direct the game however you want to. So I always make sure that I've got like cards that let me clean up lots of pollution, so that I can just roll whatever I need to,
It's
and
neat
just
how
clean
you,
it all up or whatever. So.
You have to stack your guys too.
Yes.
If
Yes.
somebody else took the action, you have to
You have
go
to
higher
stack.
than them.
You have to go higher
Physically
than them.
higher, yeah.
Well,
Oh,
that
that's right.
has the honey
Yeah.
buzz mechanic. Honey buzz
Right.
does that. Where if you have one bee from your opponent, even if it's your own, if you want to take that action again, you have to have two bees, and you have to have two. Like the stack has to be higher, and I love that. And the funny thing is honey buzz came after this. So when I played this, I went, I see what happened there. I see what you're doing, Honey Buzz. I see what you're doing, Paul. I think Paul is Paul Salomon, I think, is the designer of Honey Buzz. I'm not saying you ripped it off. It's just funny. Like it's like you think it's unique, and then you play something sooner, and you see it again, and you're like, oh, that wasn't unique.
Oh, that's where that came from.
That's where that came from.
Yeah, this is one that we bring out at lots of game nights where we have people that have never played board games before or are new to board games. Because for us, and maybe it's because we've played it a lot, it's fairly easy to explain the concept, and people pick it up really fast.
Yeah, and it's chunky enough that
it's satisfying for us too. Yeah.
Well, what I will say is the design team here, Luke Laurie and Tom Jolly, they also did Whistle Mountain, which was one of my favorite games. It's a very good design.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Yeah, I would agree. That's one of our old time favorites. For sure.
It's just sad that this publisher, Minion Games, I think they were doing well. Something happened, some tragedy happened. I think that messed up the Cold War expansion availability, and you really can't go on their website anymore and buy stuff. Like it's hard to find stuff for this.
That's a shame.
Because there's promo cards for this too, and I don't remember exactly what happened, like what the tragedy was, and I don't want to say something that's wrong, but something did happen, and it's a shame because now it's not only hard to find this game, it's almost impossible to find the expansion. Expansion. So
Gary might save the day.
$150 on Noble Night. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it was kind of a very just kind of sad, unfortunate thing what happened to the guy that owned Minion, but I don't even know who even picked up the IP since then.
I don't know.
Whoever did, it'd be great if they would reprint this.
Reprint,
because it
reprint
is
game. It's such
it's
a good
out
game.
It's out of print. And
It's gone. Yeah.
Yep.
I'll make sure we hold on to our copy then.
Yeah, you want to hold on. If you got
no,
it,
we wouldn't
hold
get
on
rid
to
of
a
it
copy.
anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, I wasn't going to talk about it, but you talked me into it. And thank you very much. I'm glad you're as
it's a
excited
good
about
one.
that
It's
one
a
as
good
I am
one.
because it's and Lexi does like it too. But
I didn't realize that game was 7
it
years
plays up to
old.
5 and it also plays solo, but I haven't tried either of those two modes.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Who
We
picked it
actually
up.
brought that game with us. I don't know if you guys.
Oh yeah,
We brought it to Beer Mongers.
Beer Mongers
It was
with
the Secret Cabal. You know the Secret Cabal podcast is? Yeah. So they are out of about an hour and a half from
York,
here, drive.
Pennsylvania.
New York, Pennsylvania.
Like,
It's
towards
way,
Lancaster.
Way out in like
Near
Amish
Lancaster,
country, right?
yeah.
The northeast corner up there.
Yeah,
up
we
by
went to.
Scranton.
They used to do a.
No. They're down south. They're further south.
down,
Closer
that's right, I'm
to
sorry.
yeah,
I'm
closer
thinking of
to
Scranton.
Maryland.
It was
Actually,
down.
yeah.
We they used to have a game night every like month at their local Beer Mongers. It was like their bar. So we drove out there one time just to see how it was, and we brought. That's the game we brought out, and we played it with some random person. Was like, hey, I'll play with that, and I'm like, cool, there you go, let's play. And we just sat down and taught him it, and played it, and no problem. It was a cool night,
and it did play well at 2, from what I remember. Her and I,
it does.
We picked it up quick. It played really well.
It does. Yeah, it scales. It scales perfectly. It's just a solid game.
Yeah,
all around. Yep, cool.
Good ones, guys.
I think that's everything, right?
Yes.
Covered all the games. Yeah, you got some.
Another good show.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
books.
Awesome. So this is probably our last video from the studio.
I know.
So say goodbye to the old studio.
That's okay. It's not
Studio.
Bye,
sad.
old studio.
Bye,
I love
studio.
it. Bye, studio. I love making new studios, though. It's like what I live for.
So it'll look similar but different, I think.
Yeah. A little
Similar
bit
but
different. I've got some ideas. Yeah.
So,
Let's get a different vinyl wallpaper.
yeah, maybe a different background.
It's like
Who knows?
it's like
the last
Gary
one had
on
wood.
it's like Gary on every stream, similar but different.
That is
Similar
true.
but different.
Yeah.
I'm like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
He's like, you're a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, jeez.
Maybe I should be my, name of my show.
Yeah, breath of fresh air.
A breath of fresh air.
Oh,
Just trash
man.
games or something.
Yeah, you should, dude. Seriously.
Wow.
That'd be so
A
great.
Breath of fresh air.
I like
Oh.
it.
That needs to be the
Love
name
it.
of your show, Gary. If you do
That's
right.
content
Yeah,
creation,
dude.
that is
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That is it, man. Awesome.
Suck
well,
all the
look,
oxygen out of the room.
yeah.
Oh my.
Great show tonight, guys. Thanks again. This was definitely a fun one for sure.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
keep this going. I think this is a really great format. I think it's a lot of fun to talk through this stuff. So
Yeah, it's been good, guys.
Yeah, definitely
All
leave
right.
the comments, below, what you think about the influencers and media creators,
Yeah.
content creator. I'm interested in hear what other people have to
Yeah.
say on this.
Really
because
interested.
Let
on
us
that
know
too,
about
yeah.
that.
Very much.
Things are
Let
changing,
us
so
know,
Yeah.
what's
What's your
changing,
thoughts?
and especially if you've been around for a while and you're like us, you've kind of seen things sort of evolve and stuff and whatever. Let us know what you think about tabletop news and if that's
Yeah.
something that you're gonna back. And let us know what your favorite games of 2016 are.
And if you have any news topics you'd like us to cover, we will happily research it and
Yes.
bring it up on our next
We
show.
will.
So love to hear it. Send in your ideas.
Okay.
All right. Thanks everyone and have a great night.
All right. See ya.
Night.
Good night.
Good night.